One moment, Sariel was standing in Tal Hundath with his companions. The next, he was sleeping. He opened his eyes.
Where am I?
He saw nothing but total darkness around him. Slowly, from above him, he saw the faintest outline of a moon slowly glowing brighter and brighter until he could clearly see the dripping moonlight emanating from it. Actual drop-like shapes coming from the crescent moon as if it was melting.
Selûne,
Sariel said. A silver figure materialized before him in the dark between places.
Open the stones.
She said.
Bring them into my light. Nothing can harm what is revealed beneath the moon.
For a moment, the words almost fit. Almost. Sariel stared at the figure.
No.
He said softly. The silver face remained gentle.
You doubt your lady?
Sariel's eyes narrowed.
I doubt certainty spoken by a familiar mouth.
The moonlight around the figure shifted. Wrongly, it fell upward.
You have no shadow.
The figure did not answer.
And Selûne does not sound like a thing that wants me to open dead stones without question.
The false light thinned. The borrowed holiness cracked. The silver figure began to fade, then something much larger moved behind it. Stone advanced through the dark, not walking exactly, not floating. It came forward with the weight of a mountain, deciding that distance was no longer relevant. A vast dwarven face emerged from the impossible space. Deep brow, heavy nose, carved eyes, and an expression that had outlived both patience and apology. Dumathoin had answered, not with light, with pressure. The false Selûne vanished completely. Sariel looked up. The stone god looked down.
You carry dead eyes, broken stone, and borrowed moonlight.
Dumathoin said.
Which of these do you understand?
Sariel swallowed.
Very little.
The admission seemed to please no one, but it had the advantage of being true.
I am a man of faith,
Sariel said.
I walk the path of Selûne as best I understand it. I seek righteousness. I seek justice.
Dumathoin replied,
You collect dangers and call them tools. You reveal secrets and call it truth. You carry silence as if it were loot.
Sariel's jaw tightened.
Accusations I will not deny, but all in pursuit of what I believe to be the greater good.
Something else moved in the vision then. Not the false voice, but a colder and truer presence, pale and distant as moonlight on a blade.
Not all light is revelation.
The voice said.
Some light is a boundary.
Sariel turned toward it.
All light removes darkness.
Some darkness guards what should not be seen.
Dumathoin replied. Sariel did not like that. Dumathoin did not seem to care. The immense figure withdrew until a smaller stone form stood before Sariel at eye level, still dwarven, still older than any apology the party had recently attempted. The god extended one hand.
If you truly give me a secret, give me one so important that once you give it to me, you will never remember it again.
Sariel understood the cost. He had many secrets. Some were doctrinal, some were tactical, some were the ordinary shames of a hard road and imperfect faith. But Dumathoin had not asked for any secret. He had asked for a true one. Sariel lowered his gaze.
My brother fell through the ice. I did not try to save him. I was afraid. He sank before anyone could reach him. That began my journey, my penance, my faith. I have walked ever since beneath Selûne's light because I did not move when I should have.
Dumathoin touched Sariel's pendant. The words he spoke were dwarven, old enough to feel carved rather than said. Then the secret left. Sariel did not feel it go as memory. He felt it go as absence. A missing room in his mind, a weight removed without mercy, a wound with no story attached. Dumathoin stepped back. Then he winced. Not dramatically, not like a mortal wounded by a blade, more like a mountain becoming aware that someone, somewhere, had struck one of its buried bones. The stone god's hand moved to his middle. His eyes settled on Sariel.
Control your friends.
Sariel closed his eyes for a moment.
As ever,
He said,
I try.
Then Talhundereth returned, stone, dust, crypt air, his companions. Sariel stood among his friends, wrapped in the lingering pressure of divine judgment and missing something he could not name. Aesian saw him first.
There you are.
Sariel looked around at the wounded party, the shattered stone, the exhausted Orsic veil, and the general expression of people who had recently done something with consequences.
I feel
Sariel said.
as if I have lost something.
Tavin studied him.
That is unsettlingly vague.
Sariel touched his chest.
I cannot place what it is.
Tavin pointed vaguely toward the broken statue.
Well, you're just in time. We made Dumathoin extremely mad because these two idiots broke a statue.
Sariel stared.
The deity of the dwarves.
He said.
What did you do?
Rowan looked at the rubble.
I hit it.
Ezian lifted a hand.
I may have encouraged him.
Tavin folded his arms.
I advised against it.
Rowan looked at Tavin.
You asked Dumathoin to clarify who he meant by Dustmouth.
Tavin looked offended.
That was a reasonable follow-up question.
Orsic, still pale, whispered.
It was not.
Sariel inhaled very slowly.
I spoke with Dumathoin.
Yes, we also spoke with Dumathoin.
He called you Dustmouth.
That appears to have been the thrust of it.
Sariel touched his pendant.
He gave me a blessing.
Ezian glanced at the shattered statue.
That seems unfair.
Sariel looked into the darkness of the crypt and noticed the impossible. Color, not the grey haze of dark vision. True color, the cold tone of ancient stone, the red in Rowan's scales, the shadowed green of Aluin's clothing, the worried warmth of Orsic's face.
I can see clearly,
Sariel said.
in color.
Tavin tilted his head.
That is your takeaway.
My faith has been strengthened.
Our relationship with the local god has been weakened.
Sariel straightened.
That is why I should speak to future divine or extraplanar entities.
Rowan nodded.
Probably.
Tavin frowned.
I object to the category.
Sariel looked at him.
You object to all categories that include gods.
I object to gods inserting themselves into conversations I am already losing.
The party had more urgent problems. Most of them were nearly spent. Some had only a few spells left. Some had only stubbornness. Orsic had been beaten so badly by Dwarven dead that he had withdrawn into a kind of scholarly hibernation. Sariel, annoyingly, had returned restored and inspired, and therefore briefly believed continuing onward was possible.
No.
Ezian said. Sariel blinked.
I have not yet proposed.
No.
Rowan leaned on his hammer.
We rest.
Tavin nodded.
This room is defensible. One main approach. Known exit. Enough space to watch.
Sariel looked down the hall.
I believe Dumathoin's blessing may allow us to pass, if we show proper respect.
Ezian looked at the statue rubble.
Bold theme for today.
Aluin glanced at Orsic, who had already more or less fallen asleep.
The professor is unconscious. As Rowan said, we should rest.
Sariel gave in with the grave disappointment of a man whose correct advice had not been followed by people who were almost certainly correct. They set watches in the crypt. First, Sariel and Rowan. The lower halls did not sleep. They waited. For a while, Sariel listened to stone, silence, and Rowan's armor shifting softly in the dark. Then his thoughts wandered to the mountains of his youth. Cold air, snow, a village half remembered through distance and discipline. Then the memory changed. He saw a mind flare inside his childhood home. Sariel went very still. It felt real. That was the worst part. Not a dream, not imagination. A memory offered with the weight of truth, yet he knew with equal certainty that it had never happened. Rowan noticed the change.
You see something?
A memory,
Sariel said.
but not mine.
Rowan looked into the dark.
Attack?
No, not exactly.
Sariel focused, testing the sensation like one might test the edge of a blade.
This is not Dwarven, not Dumathoin's work. It is psychic,
Illithid?
Rowan asked.
likely, or something adjacent.
Does it hurt?
No,
That is not the same as harmless.
Sariel nodded.
no, it is not.
Second watch, Sariel and Tevin. Tevin took his place with the expression of someone who had been awakened into a theological dispute he had not yet agreed to join.
You are still awake?
He asked.
I have had rest of a kind.
That is not sleep.
It was divine renewal.
Sariel warned him about the false memory, the psychic miasma, the possibility that something not of the temple was beginning to leak through the lower halls. Tevin stared down the passage.
So, to be clear, Dumathoin may not be the problem.
Correct.
But Dumathoin is still angry,
Also correct.
and something else is making memories lie.
Yes.
Tevin nodded once.
Good. I was worried this would be simple.
Third watch, Aluin and Ezien. Aluin watched the hallway and after a time found herself home. An elven village in the trees, walkways, familiar shapes. A place that should have been safe. There was blood near a doorway. Inside stood a mind flayer. Aluin's breath caught. Ezien noticed immediately.
That face suggests you have seen something terrible.
Maybe.
She explained the vision, the false certainty of it, the feeling of a memory placed where no memory belonged. Ezien looked down the hall.
Do you want me to stand there?
Yes.
That was not the answer I hoped for.
They switched. For a time, Ezien felt nothing. Then the sea came back, his village, the docks, a ship approaching shore. Then a vast purple tentacled thing rose from the water, wrapped itself around the ship, and dragged it under. Ezien stepped back. Aluin looked at him.
You saw something.
I saw home. Then I saw a ship get pulled under by purple tentacles.
A mind flayer?
Bigger, wetter, like a giant kraken.
Aluin frowned.
Mine changed when I went back.
That sounds like a reason not to go back.
It sounds like information.
That is the worst version of curiosity.
She returned to the spot anyway. This time the false memory shifted. Her village again, a mind flayer again. But now it seized another elf with violent grasping hands. Aluin had enough. She cast Locate Creature.
Mind flayer.
She whispered. The magic searched. Nothing.
There is no mind flayer nearby.
She said. Ezien did not relax.
That is good. At least maybe there is something wrong with the temple.
Then Aluin heard water. Soft at first, distant, splashing somewhere down the hall. She stepped forward a few cautious feet. The sound changed. It surrounded her. Not louder in a normal way, not closer. Everywhere. Water to the left, right, ahead, behind, above the thought of direction. She retreated.
I do not like that hallway.
Ezien listened.
I hear it too.
Behind them, Orsic mumbled in his sleep.
No, no. You cannot cite the mushroom water as a primary source. It was emotionally persuasive, not peer-reviewed.
Aluin stared. Ezien nodded.
He is having a very Orsic dream.
When the rest ended, the party gathered without the dignity of mourning, because Tal Hundrath did not have mornings. It only had intervals between mistakes. Orsic woke and blinked at them.
Good morning, everyone. I feel much better. Did I miss anything?
You talked about mushroom water.
Orsic's expression shifted from confusion to academic concern.
Was I convincing?
No.
Ah, then it was not my best work.
They reported the visions, Sariel's home, Aluin's village, Ezian's docks, the lack of any detected mind flayer, the water sound. As they moved down the hall, Rowan stiffened. He saw his village, an Illithid, someone he knew being strangled by long alien hands. Then Tevin felt it too. His mother, a mind flayer attacking her, false, impossible, real enough to anger him. Tevin's wings twitched.
This place is editing us.
Sariel nodded.
Or trying to.
Ezien looked ahead.
Can it edit us into leaving?
No.
A shame.
Before following the water, they opened a nearer door. Beyond it lay long stone chambers, tables, basins, and old tools. Tavin looked over the implements.
This may be medical
A pause.
or torture.
Ezien turned.
Why would you say that out loud?
Tavin examined the tools more carefully, then made the face of someone reluctantly revising a dramatic statement.
Burial preparation.
He said.
Embalming, not torture.
Great, much cozier.
Orsic brightened. Few things restored him faster than a chance to explain something dreadful.
These rooms are part of the funerary rite.
He said.
Preparation, washing, ceremony. Priests of Dumathoin were not merely buried, they were silenced.
He pointed to a carving. Dwarves opened a chest, placed a gemstone where the heart had been, closed the body again.
Silent stones.
Orsic said. Sariel stepped closer. The magic made sense to him in pieces.
They remove memory from the dead.
Aluin looked at him.
Remove or store?
Sariel touched the gap in his own mind.
Yes,
Later, they found the inscription on the center table. Orsic read it aloud.
Where the heart once spoke, set stone. Where the name once lived, set silence.
Sariel stared at the words.
I remember sacrificing a secret.
He said. Tavin watched him carefully.
Do you remember what it was?
No,
In one basin, Ezien found armor. Piece by piece, he pulled it free and arranged it on a table. Old dwarven plate, intricately carved, religiously worked, sized for a body none of them quite had. Aluin eyed it.
That is cursed.
I can cast find traps.
Does that find curses?
If the purpose is to harm, perhaps.
That is very perhaps.
Sariel cast it anyway. No trap answered. But the armor was sacred. Sariel felt it. Orsic confirmed it with spectacles, murmuring, and the infuriating confidence of a scholar agreeing with someone after the conclusion had already become obvious.
This armor is of religious significance to Dumathoin.
Orsic said. Sariel looked at the others.
Then it should be treated with respect. So no snapping it.
Tavin looked offended.
Why are you looking at me?
Because historically you are near the center of bad object decisions.
I told Rowan not to smash the statue.
Rowan nodded.
He did.
Orsic adjusted his spectacles.
It is possible that things sacred to Dumathoin recognize one another. The guardians, the armor, the rites, like recognizes like.
So someone should wear it.
Sariel said.
No.
Tavin said.
You have not heard the full suggestion.
I have wings.
It might protect you.
It will protect me from moving.
Sariel looked at the armor.
Then I will bear it.
Ezien looked at the dwarven proportions, then at Sariel.
That is going to look terrible.
It is not for appearance.
It did, in fact, look terrible. The armor pinched, gapped, scraped, and refused to acknowledge Sariel's proportions. The knees were wrong. The chest was worse. The result was sacred, uncomfortable, and only technically dignified. As the final piece settled, the room darkened. Sariel felt the change, not wrath, expectation.
This is not merely armor.
He said. Aluin asked.
What is it?
An oath.
He bowed his head.
I vow to restore sanctity to this temple, to cleanse the alien influence from Dumathoin's halls, to remove what is not of this place.
Tavin studied him.
Is Selune fine with this?
Sariel's devotion remains with Selûne.
Ezien leaned toward Aluin.
He is speaking in third person. That means it is theological.
Aluin had already found the next problem. A carving showed a priest's hand over a heartstone. The hand was cut separately, as if it could move.
A button.
She said. Everyone gathered. Rowan asked.
Should we press it?
Several people who should have known better said yes. Sariel pressed it. Stone shifted. A carved panel receded. A hidden door opened. Behind it was a blank stone wall. Ezien stared.
That is very Talhundereth.
Sariel leaned close.
It is not flat.
He studied the surface.
It curves.
Orsic hurried over.
Convex.
Yes.
A vertical cylinder.
Orsic's eyes widened.
Then this is a mechanism of gigantic proportion.
Rowan put his hands against it and pushed. The stone did not care. Rowan pushed harder. The stone continued not caring. Tavin said,
Perhaps the secret door behind the secret door requires a secret mechanism.
Ezian sighed.
Of course it does.
They searched. They found old tools, inscriptions, carvings, and no control. Aluin suspected she might prepare magic later that could help. For now, the mechanism remained shut. So the party left one more mystery behind them and followed the water. It grew louder as they advanced, no longer faint, no longer deniable. Splashing echoed through the passage, wet and active and wrong in the stone throat of the mountain. Ezian went ahead.
I will scout.
Carefully.
That is the idea.
With this group, the idea often dies young.
He moved toward the chamber. Water filled the space ahead. Something sloshed inside it, frantic and hidden. Ezian caught glimpses, long shapes, sudden movement, a body that might have been water or might have been using water as a disguise.
We need light.
He whispered back. They did not have the perfect spell. They had a torch. Sariel raised a hand.
I can enhance it.
That will ruin stealth.
Tavin said. Ezian looked toward the moving water.
Stealth may already be more of a memory than a plan.
Thaumaturgy flared. The torch brightened into a crude beam. Light struck the water. Something moved beneath it. At first it looked elemental, a shape made from the pool itself, darting and folding back into the dark. Tavin asked,
Water elemental.
Similar, not comforting.
He crept closer. 5 heads rose from the water. The chamber stopped being a mystery. It became a math problem with teeth.
Hydra!
Rowan said.
Oh, that is worse than water.
The Hydra surged at the edge of the flooded chamber, too large to fit cleanly into the hallway and too close to ignore. 5 necks writhed, 5 mouths opened, 5 sets of teeth. Sariel summoned a spiritual weapon, its force striking the Hydra from behind with a heavy invisible authority. Rowan stepped into the water, hammer ready. Ezian found an angle and immediately began considering better angles. Aluin watched the water bubble from places water should not bubble. Sariel's armor clattered as he moved.
Hold the line.
Ezian looked at him.
You are dressed as a holy barrel.
It is sacred.
It is still a barrel.
The Hydra struck. Water exploded. The party answered. Rowan's hammer came down with fire and force. Tavin flew across the edge of the chamber, wings carrying him where the flooded ground could not. Ezian darted in and out, blade flashing whenever the Hydra gave him something useful to stab. Sariel's weapon slammed into it again. Aluin searched for the spell that would make this stop being a Hydra problem and become a corpse problem. One head came off, then another. The party felt hope. That was their mistake. Fire, someone shouted.
Burn the stumps.
Rowan growled.
Yes, I know.
But knowing and doing were different things when the target thrashed in deep water and the room was full of teeth. They burned what they could, not enough. The Hydra's body convulsed. A stump split open, new flesh pushed out wetly, unfolding bone, scale, and hunger.
No!
Ezian shouted. The party drove it back down again. Heads fell, fire flashed. Rowan held the waterline like a red wall. Tavin struck and withdrew, counting the heads like each one was a personal insult. Sariel missed with a burst of guiding light, cursed under his breath in a way that remained technically religious, then wrapped divine protection around the front line. Aluin kept watching the water itself, because nothing about this chamber felt like only a monster. At last, the Hydra had one head left. For a moment, everything seemed possible. Then the body shuddered. The wound opened. 2 new heads grew from the ruined stump. Wet, fresh, hungry. The Hydra rose again with 3 heads. Ezian stared.
We almost had it.
Tavin flexed his burning hands.
No,
He said.
it almost had fewer of itself.
Sariel lifted his weapon. Rowan tightened his grip on Zarathoin's hammer. Erluin looked at the water. Orsic, somewhere behind them, made the small, scholarly sound of a man realizing this would not be solved by footnotes. 3 heads rose. The fight continued.